All right, it's time to get this show on the road. A very good morning to you from a gray San Francisco. Normally I say it's a sunny San Francisco, not today. Our summer starts in about 2 days from now. September is typically summer in San Francisco, so we're being very patient here, but we've had enough of this gray stuff. We need some sunshine. I hope it is sunny and pleasant wherever you are today. And that you appreciate a weather forecast at the start of your webinars. My name is Simon Thompson. I look after product marketing here at Cisco Meraki, and today we're going to take you through an introduction to one of our newer products, Meraki Insight, a product which is really, I think, riding a wave of trends in terms of how applications are being served to end users, something which we're taking very seriously on the Meraki team. We're very interested in the end user experience for people connected to Meraki network. So let's get into the agenda for today. It's not going to take us too long to go through the material today, but definitely we'll have time for some questions. So please don't hesitate to tap those into the Q&A panel. We'll certainly make sure we try to get those answered for you before the end of the session. And so what I'm going to do is start off with a quick sort of background. We'll take a step back from the detail. We will certainly get back to the product, but I want to give it some framework and help us all understand why we're doing this thing. So intent-based network is really the framework that we're using to guide us here. We'll then have a look at how applications are migrating to the cloud, and then we'll get into the details of Meraki Insight itself. This is a pretty straightforward product, but a very powerful one. So the main thing I want to convey to you during the webinar today is how this can really make a difference in terms of the end user experience, as I said a moment ago. It really is a powerful tool that can save significant cost when used in the appropriate manner. So we'll go through a couple of use case scenarios to help illustrate this, and hopefully that will all become very clear to you. So I'll certainly take you through a live demo as well. I want to show you what this looks like for real. One of the fun things about Meraki Insight is it is a tool that's designed to help you when things are not going super well. And so, of course, when we apply this to our own network here at Meraki, that's a challenge for us because no surprise at all that our IT team is really on top of things and keeping the network running very smoothly. And so we don't really see too much of a challenge as far as that's concerned here. But I have a special demo network where I'll be able to show you the benefits of how the tool actually works in practice when things are not so smooth. Okay, so a very quick overview for Cisco Meraki. We've been now operating as a business since 2006, so 12 years of experience running a cloud-managed IT solution for our customers. And we really were pioneers in this space. So what we did was come up with a new and innovative way of centralizing the management for all of our different IT components, starting off with access points and then adding a whole raft of other capabilities subsequently. What's common about those is this cloud infrastructure. That gives you significant benefits in terms of scale because you really can manage sort of hundreds of thousands of sites very simply through this centralized architecture. And anywhere where you can get an internet connection and you have a web browser, you're going to be able to log into the Meraki dashboard, our management tool, and be able to see what's happening with your network, make config changes, fix problems, that kind of thing. So a very powerful model which has served us extremely well and led us to be really the leaders in this particular space. We became part of the Cisco family at the end of 2012, and we've really been one of Cisco's strongest growing product lines since that acquisition. So we've got a really significant scale at this point in time. 3.5 million Meraki devices connected at any one time to the cloud that we operate on behalf of our customers. And then around about 5.5 million end users working the Meraki dashboard. So management people just like yourselves who are actually using these tools to keep their networks running smoothly. So we have plenty of experience here and I think a very solid and robust platform. So let's take a step back and think about the technologies that we really need to support us now that pretty much any IT gear that you go and buy is going to be able to deliver you the fundamental connectivity that you need for end users. We're really trying to get past that point now. Connectivity is just a given at this point in time, whether that's over a wired network or a wireless network. What we really want to start doing is thinking about how the network can serve us. We live in a world of advancing technology. We're starting to hear a lot of conversation about artificial intelligence and machine learning. These are really ways of describing how technology is supposed to be helping us to make our lives easier. And that, of course, is the grand promise of technology. And the network is certainly part of that. So we want to make sure that the network is helping us in any way that it can to improve our day-to-day workflow. And when we think about Meraki's own mission statement, it's really about enabling our customers to have a simpler IT experience so that they can focus on what matters to them, to their mission. That's fundamental to us. And the best way we can think to do that is to provide tools that begin to automate and to just simplify the management and day-to-day experience. So intent-based networking is a term that was coined by Gartner, and you can certainly go and find plenty of reading material about that on the internet. It's something which Cisco is taking very seriously in terms of a model that we can follow to try to make sure that we are living towards this dream of intent-based networking. And it is exactly what those words say. You have, as a network administrator, an intent to achieve a certain thing. That may be to provide beyond connectivity. You might be thinking about things like policies, about VLANs, about how you get the best possible performance across a wide area network. And so what we want to do is provide you with the tools and capabilities that are going to help you achieve the intent that you have at the beginning. So there are various different stages to this whole intent-based networking journey. We set out with our initial desire, but then we also need to be able to monitor and ensure that we are actually getting the results that we set out for, so we are hitting that intent with reality at the back end. And that's really where Meraki Insight fits into this journey. So as you scan across there, left to right, this is really the journey that we're on. We're certainly developing capabilities in the ML and AI space, and ultimately do have this goal of full intent-based networking. On that journey is providing good quality insights and assurance to ensure that what you intend your network to do and to deliver is actually working the way that you expect it to. That means you end up with happy end users and a much more efficient IT operation. So end user experience is something which I will repeat several times during this webinar because it's such an important part of our discussion today. We all know that it's possible to provide a decent quality connection to the network and to the internet at this point in time. We've been doing that for many years now. However, it is still the case even today that you get a lot of end users, maybe less technical users on your network, raising a ticket with IT that says, hey, something like, hey, the network's slow, or I can't get on the internet, or I can't reach the printer. These are often sort of very non-technical descriptions, and the IT team, of course, then has the challenge of going and establishing how best to react to that. And really, this is what we're trying to help the IT organization with doing by providing that better insight. And this becomes particularly important in the era of cloud-managed applications. So again, I'm going to take a step back and just break this down because these buzz terms get thrown around so liberally in our industry, and I really want to be very specific about what we mean here. If you go back just a few years, it's very common for the majority of your IT services to be hosted on your own servers or virtual machines running in a data center that you have operational control over, and you're sort of running the hardware, the software, and the day-to-day maintenance of that environment. But we all know, because this is such a huge trend, that rapidly our applications supporting our businesses are migrating off to the cloud. Some of this is with brand new initiatives. Think about products like Salesforce or Office 365. These are kind of new things that we're really helping to migrate with. But we're also taking older services that we used to run locally, things like file and print services and authentication services, and migrating those out to a cloud as well. And to be specific about the cloud piece, this could be a private cloud as well, so one that you operate yourself with your own data center, simply remote from your users. Or it could be one of many different public cloud offerings available to you. So if we can think here about services like Amazon Web Services or Microsoft Azure. And we also have numerous different services that run just directly off of a web-based application like Salesforce, where you just simply connect that directly. Any which way, the trend is very clear there's a longer and a larger number of hops between the application where it's hosted and where the end user is actually consuming that application. And our job in IT is to make sure that there's absolutely no reduction in experience for those end users. We need to maintain that solidly, whilst on the other side benefiting from this efficiency we gain from moving to the cloud. The trend here is very clear, as you can see from this prediction by Forrester. I mean, it's going to be 2020 before I know it, so I'll keep an eye on some new stats there. But this is definitely clearly showing us that this trend is happening. And if you haven't already started this journey, I'm fairly confident to say that you will be starting this journey pretty soon. So how are we going to deal with that? Meraki Insight is one of the tools that's going to help you with that journey. So Meraki Insight fundamentally is a tool designed to help you with network and software as a service performance analytics. The industry also refers to this as MBMD, or NPMD, I should say, so Network Performance Monitoring and Diagnostics. This is the kind of industry catch-all buzz term. So you can certainly go and look at that if you're interested in getting more background information here. This is really our contribution to that space. So it's providing you with end-to-end visibility for those remote cloud-hosted software as a service applications to ensure great user experience. And we're looking at multiple areas. So we're looking at the servers that are hosting these applications. We're also looking at the hops that are taken between those servers and those end users. So fundamentally, this means the wide area network. It also means the local area network. We also have a tool that can help us on the wireless as well. So for that sort of physical 82.11 space, we can cover that for quality maintenance as well. So all of this is fundamentally aimed to help you accelerate your IT and to reduce time to resolution for those complaints that come in about quality of experience. So this is really putting the intelligence of the Meraki dashboard to work. And of course, those 12 years that we've been in operation, we've been learning all the way about how best to serve customers and provide a really solid experience. So a lot of data really that helps us to understand what it is that contributes to the quality of experience the end users have. And we're really leveraging that now and giving you that power with Meraki Insight. So when we talk about faster time to resolution, let's look at this very simple example here. And this is actually a couple of layers down into the Meraki Insight interface. And I'll show you this screen when we go into the live demo shortly. But this is a nice example because it helps me illustrate how, at a glance, you can see where your problem is likely to lie. So look at that vertical line there. This is showing us a common point in time, and we're looking at various different elements that contribute to the end user experience. So available good put, so that's the real application throughput that a particular app is doing. We're looking here at an application called Vision, which is obviously an important one. It's going to be a real-time streaming type of application, so particularly sensitive for performance. So what we can see there is a very sudden drop-off in good put, where it suddenly drops right down to super low level. But at the same time, if you just go down a couple of lines there, and it's slightly obscured, I need to move that horizontal purple line there, but it actually says there WAN loss. So what we're seeing there is that at a common point in time, we suddenly got a spike in loss on the wide area network specifically, and at the same time a drop-off in good put. So no prizes for guessing that WAN is the culprit here. We can go directly then to our internet service provider, or however we're providing our WAN. There's so many different ways of doing that today. But the key thing is we know who to speak to. We pick up the phone and we say, hey, we're getting some problems with loss on the wide area network. Are you seeing any problems? And before you know it, you've got to the heart of the problem. Compare this with how things are typically done in the real world today. Somebody raises a ticket and says the network's slow. You then have to start piling through pages and pages of event logs and trying to just piece together clues that might help point to where this problem truly lies. The goal here is to use the intelligence we have available to help pinpoint exactly what it is. So it's such a simple point when you put it on a screen like this. It's so blatantly obvious. But the truth is there are not very many tools out there that can help achieve this today to make it this easy for IT teams. So what we're looking at here is a couple of, again, grabs from the screen on the Meraki dashboard. And so what we're trying to identify here is how we solve certain different customer challenges, like who should this network administrator contact at a glance I've got a very simplistic view here: LAN, WAN, and server. So on that example, we know that there's some kind of a problem with the server, so whoever is responsible for that, if it's sitting in AWS, maybe we need to speak to them. If it's something in a private cloud, we need to speak to the IT admin who's responsible for that data center. Either which way, you're going to be cutting out certain troubleshooting elements to get to your point as quickly as possible. So like it says here, within a couple of clicks, you're down to the detail and you're able to move ahead. Also, it's kind of small on the screen there. Hopefully we'll see this when we go into the demo as well. There's a sort of a yellowy strip across the top of the lower screen cap, and it says application problems detected. I describe this as anomaly detection. This is really where we use the power of the intelligence in the Meraki dashboard to then provide a plain English description of what the problem actually is. In this particular case, it's a slow server that's been detected. All right, so I think the general principle is pretty easy to swallow. Let's look at a couple of examples of where this is already making a difference for early customers for this product. So the first example I want to highlight is a very large international retailer, and this was actually one of our earliest customers who were beta testing this for us before we actually released the product. And this was in the run-up to the holiday season, and so as I'm sure you can imagine, at Christmas time, there's a time when a lot of retailers around the world are really doing the majority of their business. In some cases, it can be as much as 90% just done in that short period before the end of December itself. So in this particular case, the retailer in question, they actually had a problem with their point of sale. They had a couple of point of sale systems actually go down. And I'm sure I don't need to tell you how big an impact that can have very quickly. Just imagine your customers lined up at the checkout, all trying to get their Christmas gifts taken care of, and the point of sale is not working for them. They can't complete the transaction. A lot of frustration, potentially harm to the brand of this business as well. So really very significant impacts potentially. In the case of this particular incident, Meraki Insight came to the rescue and was able to pinpoint a problem with the local ISP so that the retailer was able to get this problem identified and resolved within a 30-minute time window. So the last bullet point at the bottom of that slide, Meraki Insight's now enabled in every store. So no prizes for guessing why that is. It clearly showed its value very quickly. And that's what we try to do with these tools. They certainly do come at a cost, but you'll quickly find that there's the speed at which you can get problems resolved and the potential offset savings that you achieve really do help to pay for the product in no time at all. So the value is enormous here. Example number two, we're focused here on a company that's moved to Office 365. Very common, again, happening at this point in time more and more. So relying, therefore, on a cloud service, really, to provide the kind of experience that we were used to getting from local data centers or even just applications running on our own computers. So in this case, we want to help to achieve reduction of disruptions to the workforce. And with Meraki Insight deployed, we can obviously monitor Office 365 and all of the steps that get us to that service to make sure that we're maintaining good connection there. And so all kinds of applications where this has been put to good use. And I think Office 365 is very prevalent and is growing all the time. So the value of this certainly speaks for itself. And then last but not least, this is an interesting one. We think about the education setting. So here, of course, we have regular testing and in-class learning happening. And it's no surprise at all that the IT network becomes increasingly important in the education space because it's very rare that that testing doesn't involve some form of IT or using some kind of technology, and again, increasingly relying on services that are not locally hosted. So in this particular case, you want your students to have a great experience. If they are all sitting in a room doing a test, there are no excuses for a problem on the network at a time like that. It's fundamental to the future of these kids. And so no surprise that in certain environments, you might find that there's even legal liability issues that could be taken into consideration here around providing a good quality networking experience so that there's no impact negative at all on the student trying to get their work done and their tests complete successfully. So these are really big impact in terms of impact, and I think that's what we really need to focus on here is the real world examples where tools like Meraki Insight make a significant difference. Okay, so I'm going to take a break from the slides now and switch across to my web browser so I can give you a quick live demo so you can see this thing in action. So first place I'm going to go is to the regular Meraki dashboard. I'm going to just give you a very quick overview. I think probably the majority of you on the webinar today will already be familiar with the Meraki dashboard, but I don't want to assume that for everybody. So I'll very quickly just show you, just give you a quick sense of what this management interface looks like. It is huge for us. It's really a very big part of our value proposition at Meraki. Once you've got your networking equipment installed, this is the interface that you live with on a day-to-day basis. So we work really hard to make this interface as intuitive as possible to help your workflow, to help you achieve at scale what you're trying to get done. One of my pleasures as a webinar presenter is getting to see this number just tick up and up and up over time. I have seen it go all the way up from about 200,000 active networks to now 1.6 million active networks. A network in Meraki's terms could be as many as 10,000 devices all in a common site or commonly managed. So this is significant scale we're talking about here. And if I just zoom out very quickly, get a sense of the kind of coverage that Meraki has around the world, it's pretty significant at this point in time. The whole of the United States of America are completely blanketed. There's Meraki equipment everywhere you look. We dive into into one of our example networks here. And this is our own headquarters IT network that I'm speaking to you from in San Francisco today. And this is a super busy network. We're looking at just traffic for the last day. We've had 2,300 unique client devices on our network. We've transferred over 5.5 terabytes of traffic to and from this network. So this is super busy. And so we're a really good test case ourselves for all of this technology that we're implementing. But if I go to Meraki Insight, and you can see I've got all these different elements of my IT platform all managed through this central interface. But if I go to Meraki Insight, here, my hope is that I will find that everything is green, and whew, thank goodness it really is. You can tell this is a live demo. Everything is green and healthy, so our IT team can be quite comfortable right now that at a glance they can see all these services that they are providing for us to use. They are all working in a very healthy fashion. So this is exactly what I described to you as the challenge for us as from a demonstration perspective. We want everything to be green. However, we have created this demo environment where things are not quite so healthy. So let me flip across to that. And here we are. We've got a couple of problems. Somewhere way up in Canada, we seem to have a challenge up there. And so if I just hover over that, I can see what are the actual applications. Let me move that around a bit. What are the actual applications and where do they sit and what kind of performance scores are we seeing right now? So obviously a higher score is better and preferable. And if I come over here, here's my list of tracked web applications. This is a list which you actually set up yourselves. So you can come in here and configure your own web applications. And what you do in each particular case, if I just click on that, you'll see here, I just go through, I've got categories that I can choose from, or I can add my own custom application. And when I do that, then I have the option to go in and actually specify, what are the quality standards that I'm expecting for that particular application. So in this particular case, these are the ones that we've got selected right now so that we can depict those. And so here's the list. If I hover over these different areas, then we can see that these are links, so I can dive straight into these if I need to. And I can see 1 of 4 of my networks is affected in this particular case. Now, what defines what is good and bad? Well, we do that. So if I click on Edit here, then I have an opportunity to select what the thresholds are for performance for this specific application. So this one's called Ikarum CRM East, lovely catchy name. And so here I can come in and determine what is my acceptable level of per flow good put, and I can determine the application response time. And obviously, as I do that, then I'm impacting whether this turns out to be a tick or a cross once that is saved. So let's dive into one of these in a little bit more detail. So now I'm just looking at this particular application, and I'm going to view the trends for this one as well. This is the screenshot that we saw a little bit earlier. And here's that anomaly detection thing that I talked about. This is really what I mean when I describe anomaly detection. It's something we're doing increasingly across the Meraki platform, and that is providing a nice plain English alarm that is easy to interpret and to act on. In this case, a slow server detected with an average server response time of 2.3 seconds. We've given a threshold of 450 milliseconds, so we know that we have a problem here. And straight away, you're going to be able to sort of start working on that and troubleshooting that particular problem. So if I scroll down here, I can see here's my performance score, which is sitting up fairly good right now, but a couple of problems here and there, the total network usage and the latency, which is quite high. So this is really where my problem lies. Latency could be caused by a whole bunch of different things. I'm going to come back out of here and select a different application just for some balance. So let's go into this one and have a look here. So in this case, we've got some different descriptions to look at here. So we've got slow WAN detected and a little bit of detail here to help us. So we don't even need to look at the details below, but obviously it's here, and we can just move around to any particular point in time and see a common. There's another example where performance score dipped, where we saw latency sort of peak up, and you can be very confident that there's a correlation there. Now we break this down by just hopping across through these different specific areas. So the application itself, what is the response time that we're seeing from that application? What is the usage that we're seeing at that time for that application? So we can track that over time. Right now we're looking at 2 hours, a fairly limited window. If I can increase that to a week, see the data loads really quickly. And so I'm able to watch it trend over a period of time. We're certainly looking at how we can potentially extend that as well for our customers who wish to do that. And I can look at the wide area network specifically. What are the different factors contributing to my WAN performance? So I've got the loss here, latency, as well as the response time as seen from the WAN perspective. And then we can do the same thing with the LAN as well. So we're looking inwards now from the demarc point of our network at the performance that comes up to that demarc point, so that we can identify if the problem that the end user is experiencing is actually sitting on the LAN. Clicking onto clients shows me the actual end users who are being impacted at this time. So in this particular case, Dan, John, Barry, Brett, and Randy are having a really bad day. They've got a pretty poor experience. Wouldn't be surprised if they've already raised a ticket with IT. The key thing is I know exactly why when I come in here, and that's exactly the whole point of this tool. So what are the servers that contribute to this database that we're monitoring at this point in time? This is the actual server address, so it's a private address, means it's probably sitting in a private cloud data center somewhere on a remote site. So we're able to monitor it and provide that detailed level of information for that specific server as well. If it is one that's being run remotely, or maybe through AWS, or maybe it's a web location like Office 365 or Salesforce, that would actually show up here under domains, so we can see really who is responsible for hosting this particular application. And then with uplinks, typically we are in the era of SD-WAN, software-defined wide area networking, and as a result, we may often have multiple wide area network links. We want to establish if we are having a problem, is the problem on one link or another? As we can see here, we are looking at a challenge around slow WAN, and sure enough, if I look at my Monkey Brains connection, and this is the link that we're talking about right here, this is where my problem lies. So here's my low score. The other one looks fine. I can then, if I choose to, I can then redirect some traffic onto the faster performing network. SD-WAN should do that automatically for us for certain application types, but there are various different ways, obviously, you can configure that at your choice. Now, if you want to filter down the results that you're seeing, if you have long lists, let's say you have a lot of different uplinks or a lot of different servers potentially providing service for a particular application, maybe on a web balancing perspective, then a load balancing perspective, I should say, then you can come in here, you can see all of the servers, and we can filter on these if we have a list of them. So for the uplinks, I can go in and choose a particular Monkey Brains connection and just look at that. So again, pretty straightforward here because we've only got two wide area network links here. But with this, I can actually drill down to that one specific one that's causing me the problem. So that really is it. It's a very simple, straightforward tool. What I want to remind you of is the power of what we can achieve with this, which I set out with those examples a moment ago. So let me get back to the slides now, and we'll start to move things towards a conclusion. In order to support Meraki Insight, we need some way of actually gathering all this data. Fortunately, we have a tool that we can already make use of. It's a product which we already use for a lot of different functions in the Meraki portfolio, and that's the Meraki MX. This is a product which started life as a security appliance and has evolved over time to really become a true unified threat management box with a whole raft of security and networking capabilities, some of the best Cisco security technologies built in here. But also more recently, we've also added SD-WAN functionality here, so we're really taking the WAN capabilities very seriously. We know that a lot of our customers deploy these in their branch locations and therefore rely on them to provide security and great networking experience. So because this tool is already used for the deep packet inspection that we need to do the security side of things, we're able to leverage that same data to collect what we need to support the Meraki Insight product. And what we do at Meraki is use our own cloud infrastructure to capture and record that data over time. So the MX itself doesn't have that ability to record that over time. We're able to do this for very long periods of time if we need to. And so that's where the Meraki Cloud component comes in. We take care of all of this for you, so it's completely seamless and behind the scenes. The key thing that you need to know is that the infrastructure is very well thought out and extremely scalable. So even if you're operating across thousands of different sites, you're still going to be able to take advantage of this tool for every one of those locations. So there's licensing for this one, and it does depend on the particular model of MX that you are talking about. We launched a few more of those earlier this week. Hopefully you saw that news. We now have products with embedded LTE built in and faster Wi-Fi as well. But you basically just go down the list here, look at whether it's a small, medium, large, or extra large deployment in terms of the MX model that you're running, and then you choose your license according to that. So this is going to determine the kind of support level that you can achieve with your Meraki Insight deployment. Okay, so I want to just try and plug this into the broader perspective again, and really remind you of what we have already achieved at Meraki. And this is a journey, like everything in IT and technology generally. We're always working to improve this. But I think even today in 2018, we have a phenomenal story to tell, all the way from the client device through to the application server, wherever that application server is hosted. So let's start with the client. We have Systems Manager, which is a tool we use to help control the endpoints connecting to our network to ensure that they're compliant with the policies that we've determined. And we can focus there on the quality of experience for those client devices themselves, so things like smartphones, tablets, and laptops. And then with so many devices connecting over wireless now, we also introduced a tool free for our wireless product users called Wireless Health this year. And this is really great for helping to identify the potential problems you can experience on the Wi-Fi, problems relating to authentication, DHCP services not working properly, and simply just actually passing data once you're associated with that access point. So we've got that taken care of with Wireless Health. The Meraki dashboard already has, as I'm sure you know, a whole wealth of troubleshooting tools built in to monitor things like the wireless, but also to do things like packet captures, to really monitor for security with products like Air Marshal. So we've already got a lot of troubleshooting capability built into the dashboard. The focus up till now really was around everything you did on the local area network. What Insight does is help us get further and beyond that into that third-party space that we don't have necessarily responsibility for, like our ISP-provided wide area network or our application server that we're paying for as a remote service. And Insight's going to help us understand that component better as well. So piece all of this together, and you will have a lot of power at your fingertips. And I think we can all be very proud of this, and we certainly are on the Meraki team. If I think about these different components, and every single one of them can have an impact on that end user experience. And any one of these failing could result in a ticket being raised. And the key thing is to be able to find that problem quickly and to get users back to work focused on their own company's missions. So, as I've alluded to already, Meraki Insight is part of a broader platform we have here at Meraki, everything managed through the centralized cloud infrastructure designed for scale, but also with a very strong focus on simplicity. We know that IT management can be a complex world, a lot of cryptic management tools to learn. We try to unify everything into this single pane of glass, which is designed to be intuitive to help you be as efficient as possible as an IT practitioner. We have webinars that cover all of these different products, so if you are interested in learning more on any one of these, or indeed trying any one of them, definitely do encourage you to reach out to your Meraki contact. We love to set you up with a trial for any of the equipment that you can see here, and you can always learn more from us as well. So in terms of next steps, I always love to encourage webinar attendees to sign up for our blog, and the reason for that is that we have this really set up as our mouthpiece. So anytime we have anything new to share with you, whether that's a new product launch or an exciting new feature, or even just some news about some of the fun things that Meraki is getting involved in, that's the place to go. Just go along there and subscribe, then you will get the blog updates into your inbox, and it's at a very healthy rate. So just about 2 to 3 blog posts a week, and I think you'll find it pretty interesting if you like keeping up with what products and features we are developing to make your life easier. As I said a moment ago, a risk-free evaluation is a huge part of our value proposition because we want to put these products in your hands. You're listening to me, talking to you, and trying to convince you that this is a great product. What I would really love you to do is to take it for a spin yourself and make that decision yourself as well, if it's actually going to offer value to your own business. So we make that super easy for you to do. No cost evaluations here, and if you do choose to take any hardware, we'll even pay for it to be shipped back if you choose not to keep it. So it's really true no risk option for you. And then last but not least, we have this great resource, the Meraki community, which is growing all the time and is a great place to go in and discuss some of this technology, to share ideas with other people who are doing the same kind of role as you are, and to learn something from them as well. So definitely recommend you go along to that. It's also a great place to go and get swag if you're into that kind of thing. We find a lot of people are into that kind of thing, so I always like to share that one. All right, so that's all the material that I wanted to get through today. So what I'll do now is just take a few minutes to have a look at some of the questions that you've sent in, and I will try and answer those for you. If you do have any last-minute questions, now's the time to go in and take a look at those, and we'll try and share those with you as well. So give me just a moment while I have a look at what's come in. Okay, so I'm going to answer a question here, a very fair question. It's not strictly related to Meraki Insight, but I'll take it anyway. I'm here, so I might as well. This is about the Meraki app sitting on your smartphone. I am like you. This is Travis. I'm like you, Travis. I absolutely love using my smartphone all day, every day, maybe too much. The truth is that we're increasingly moving to a sort of handheld technology world, and so we want to make sure that we're giving you as good an experience as possible. I can tell you, had a discussion pretty recently about this application. We're getting very serious about revisiting that. It hasn't been updated in a while. It's absolutely true. But I can assure you that there are conversations happening here about how we resource getting that updated to give you a really great experience. So please bear with us on that. Really do appreciate your patience. We know it's something we need to do more of. So let me have a look down some of the other questions here. Okay, so interesting. A question here about Meraki Go. Absolutely not. I'm not covering that here, but I'm very happy that you've heard about it. This is a brand new really quite separate product line that we've launched this week, designed for small business. And You can find out more details about that if you head over to our website. It's a really a very interesting proposition for very small operations that maybe don't even have an IT team. So really not what we're focused on today, which is really a sort of a more traditional, if you like, deployment where we are supporting our networks and our businesses with high quality IT operations. Okay. So yeah, George, thanks for your question about the firewall. Does it track issues that are internal of the firewall? My interpretation of that is, are we looking at the local area network? Hopefully I covered that briefly during the demo. Because we're using the MX and the MX has LAN interfaces, then absolutely yes, we are looking at components that are internal to that. And if you are using Meraki Wireless, as I again showed you on a slide, a couple of the slides back, Meraki Wireless Health is really helping to cover that last hop, the actual 802.11 wireless space between the LAN and the end user client themselves. Okay, looks like there's a couple of you who are interested in giving it a try, so that's great. We've got questions here about pricing. Quite understand that. We don't cover pricing during the webinars because really, as I'm sure you'll be surprised to hear, we want you to reach out and have a conversation about that because we really want to do our best to give you what you're looking for. So definitely encourage you to reach out to your Meraki contact there. You can find some guide pricing on our website, so that's a place where you can go and learn a little bit more. Question here about whether Meraki Insight is collecting data for on-premise servers as well. It's a great question. I actually, you know what, I'm not 100% sure of the correct answer to that question. I think it is designed to be across a wide area network, but I can't think of anything in the configuration which would prevent you configuring the destination IP address as a local IP address. So I'd probably want to go and double check that, to be very fair, Chris. But thank you for the question. I'll go and see if I can find the answer to that after our webinar. In terms of requesting a trial, my recommendation there would be to reach out to your Meraki contact. So if you have a partner that you typically work through, please do reach out to them or directly to us. There's contact details on our website. We will definitely get you set up with a trial as quickly as we can. Good question here about the older MX models. So, for example, the MX80, that one is dating all the way back to 2012. We actually don't support the MX80. Unfortunately, it doesn't quite have the horsepower that we need to be able to support Meraki Insight with the quality of experience that we really want to provide you. The same goes for the MX60 as well, another one of our very early models. Do bear in mind that those are 6 years old now, as much as 6 years old now. So the design just can't quite cope with that new use of it. So it's just for those newer models. But hey, if you are using one of those older models, it's definitely time to have a conversation with your Meraki contact because we would love to help you migrate to something with a little more power. Good question here around whether we have a firewall built into the router that we're using here. The answer is yes. So the MX, which is really, I think of, and I described it on the slide as the first collector of data for Meraki Insight, but it is a product that already does a huge amount. It is one of the best unified threat management products that you can find on the marketplace today, with a very comprehensive range of security technologies, including some of the very best from Cisco, including the Talos threat protection, advanced malware protection, intrusion detection and prevention with SourceFire technology. So really the best of the best built into that box already, even before we get to Meraki Insight. So yes, absolutely. This is your one-stop for providing connection and security for your branch locations. As far as advanced traffic logging, we've got a question about that. We do support obviously event logging in the traditional way, but we do also have syslog output capabilities. So if you are using tools, something like Splunk, for example, you can certainly output data from all the Meraki products to help you support that more advanced traffic logging. We do appreciate that that's a requirement as well. By the way, I mentioned the fact that MX is the first collector for Meraki Insight. Those words are chosen very carefully. What we mean by that is that we're not necessarily restricted to the MX in perpetuity. So we're really interested in hearing your feedback. We do understand that not every customer out there will have the MX. Maybe you're just using Meraki Wi-Fi and a different solution for your security. We'd hate for you to be completely excluded, but we really need to hear that from you. So I would definitely encourage you, if you do fit into that category, to reach out to your Meraki contact. Let us know, because this kind of feedback really helps our engineering team to determine their priorities when we think about what new hardware and software we need to be supporting over time. And that goes really for anything that we do at Meraki, but definitely in this particular instance. Okay, so I think we've got through pretty much all the questions that have come in here. I'd like to thank you very much indeed for your time and attention during the webinar today. As usual, we cover quite a lot of ground. It's a pretty simple product here. Hopefully the value is very clear to you at this point in time, but I wanted to really make sure that we've thought about why this is a valuable product to you and some examples you may not have thought of before. I hope it's been useful to you. So really, it just remains for me to say, once again, please do reach out to your Meraki contact. We want to keep that conversation going and make sure you're having as awesome an IT experience as we know we're capable of delivering. And so it just remains from Taylor and myself to wish you a very enjoyable rest of your day. And we do look forward to speaking to you again very soon. Bye-bye for now.